Cuffing. Cuffing. The mindset for this course and this type of training is that you want to provide a platform or a medium for force-on-force training.
Now the problem is you come into my house, threaten my daughter, or my son, or my wife, I'm not going to be in a real friendly mind. I'm going to hunt you down and blow you away, period. I'm going to come in here going, where are you? Whether I'm using a handgun, shotgun, or whatever, I'm going to come and get you.
I need to be able to get my weapon to bear on a threat no matter which direction, which way it's coming from, no matter where, and unexpected or not, I have to have that weapon ready to go.
Across.
If you're being trained at a shooting range, they teach you how to shoot paper. How many people have you ever read in the newspaper somebody's been attacked by a piece of paper? Violence does not play prejudice. It does not just attack poor. It does not attack rich. It does not attack just college students. It doesn't just attack old people. It attacks everybody.
SWAT team members work drugs as well as crimes of violence.
I'm a firm believer that if you're shot, you're not dead. And if you're dead, you don't know it.
This training is unique in that it provides a force-on-force type concept. You have an actual adversary to work against, as opposed to just making the motions and pretending to be involved in a firefight.
The Glock Model 21. It's a semi-automatic handgun, very rugged, finding wide popularity with law enforcement.
There's a lot of questions that aren't answered when you just buy a firearm. And there's a lot of questions in people's mind. What would I do, or how do I do this? Do I want to be standing here, or do I want to turn on a light, or what do I want to do? This type of training provides that platform and helps you answer those questions in a realistic way.
My mindset for this course is very much similar to the mindset that I have when I'm on patrol. I have to concentrate on what's going to happen next, what my reactions are going to be, and where I'm going to move as I react.
The mindset you need to have is that you have to have an open mind to new concepts and absorb new ideas.
The mindset for this program that you have to have is you have to have a mindset that's prepared for making mistakes. You're going to get in situations that are sometimes out of control. And in that time frame, your body and your mind is reacting to things as it's not used to reacting. So your mindset has to be willing to accept the fact that you're going to make mistakes, and you put away your ego for this time frame so that your mind and your body can learn what it needs to do to correct the mistakes it's going to make, because you're going to be under duress. We're going to put things right in your face. There's going to be things shot at you. There's going to be decisions you have to make in a split second, and you just have to be able to make them, but you also have to accept that sometimes you're just going to screw it up. And so you have to have that mindset to, go for it.
The first step we have to do is get ourselves in control. That starts what we call the shooting platform. Okay, essentially, the lower body is going to be the suspension system, because we know through trial and error that moving targets are much more difficult to engage than static, hiding type targets. We want to be able to move and present a real difficult target to anyone who might be trying to engage us. Okay, so that's essential. We got to be balanced. We got to move. We've got a suspension system down here. Ideally, we want to be able to move and keep the upper body fairly calm and steady, because we already have enough factors we're taking into consideration. We don't want to be erratically moving the upper body. Your head is relatively heavy. It's like a bowling ball, essentially. It's about how heavy it is. And if right at the moment that we're having to make a critical decision, we're moving everything around erratically, we're not efficient, and it makes it difficult to actually do what we need to do, and that's fire the weapon at our opponent. You guys will find yourself in areas that there is no cover, there's no place to go, you're just caught out in the open, and the best thing you can do is maintain a shooting platform. Okay, so I want to be on balance, okay? My finger is off the trigger, if you notice that, and I'll discuss that a little bit more. I want to, whatever the weapon may be, a shotgun, a submachine gun, it doesn't matter. I want to get a nice, good stock weld right here. I want to get nice and tight, so when I raise the weapon, all I need to do is lock it up to my cheek, and I'm looking right down the barrel, right through the sights. A lot of guys will ask me, hey, what's the deal on the trigger finger? Should I keep it on, keep it off? If you go ahead and put your finger on the trigger and you know you're under duress, and all of a sudden you see movement out in the dark, what are we going to get? What's going to happen when your finger's hanging on the trigger there? Okay, you're just going to pull the trigger. You got your own guy in front of you, bad news, obviously. Okay? You may prematurely give away your position. A lot of reasons why we don't want to do that. It's unsafe, it's not tactical, it doesn't do us any good. So what I want to do is, while I'm orienting, while I'm just deciding to do it, I realize I have a threat, I have plenty of time to get that finger on the trigger. It will never be waiting for you. Or you'll never be waiting for your trigger finger, I should say. It'll always be there. We want to develop that habit. And you'll see us go through the drills, and if I catch you with your finger on the trigger, I'll remind you to get your finger off the trigger until you have a definite threat in front of you. All right? And we'll talk about the movement. Essentially what I want you to do is I want you to move real smooth, and I want you to wait, get your foot on your back foot, your weight on your back foot, place the front foot, and then transfer the weight. And there's kind of a nice smooth shuffle that goes on here where I'm just nice and smooth and I'm not running. If you run with a weapon, what's going to happen with your head? It's going to be very difficult to acquire a target. In CQB, there's very, very few times when you need to be running. There are some, but as a rule, if you're running, you're probably wrong and you're probably out of control. I need to be able to get my weapon to bear on a threat no matter which direction, which way it's coming from, no matter where, and unexpected or not, I have to have that weapon ready to go. Some things that aren't the shooting platform. This is not the shooting platform. Weapon off the shoulder, down here too low, finger on the trigger, real tight motion, real tight muscular contraction. I don't want to do that. I want to be loose and I want to be balanced. All right, loose and balanced, because that's the way your body functions best. You talk to any athlete in any sport, and they're very smooth. Okay, same thing when we're working the shooting platform. Reflexive fire drill is designed to give the participant or the trainee the first exposure to force-on-force training. We work on the way he moves, we work on the way he handles his weapon, the decisions he makes, whether it's a shoot or a no-shoot decision. Our term here is economy of motion. We want to create a individual that can handle himself first. There's no way you can put together a team or even partners if you as an individual cannot control yourself. So that reflexive fire drill is designed to help you give you some of the basic building blocks to some of the other drills.
We use the paint gun primarily to push the force-on-force engagement.
We have found, we've tried a lot of different mediums. There's simunition rounds, we've done wax bullets, we've done blanks, we've done lasers, and we found that with the new technology in paint guns that we can simulate force-on-force training the best.
You actually get to experience what a gunfight's going to be like.
The shooter can typically fire 1,500 rounds as an individual in one day, and which is a lot of time behind the gun.
You get the actual feeling of when a gun looks at you and a gun sends something and hits your body. You actually get that feedback that, wow, that's what happens when a real bullet comes out of a gun and hits me.
The concepts can easily be translated over to live fire concepts.
He's got a gun, I got a gun, and when I step out and I do it wrong, I'm going to get a paintball in the leg, I'm going to get it in the shoulder. If I want to go the wrong and I want to lead with my body first, he's going to take 3 or 4 shots into my body, and it hurts. We use vehicles in our training. We use them exactly how they would be employed if you're a bad guy and if you're a good guy or a police officer. It's the only way to do it. Let's let him run down the road, let's stop him, let him bail out, and let's see what happens. That's the only way you can do it, because it's the same physical world that they deal with on a daily basis. So we use those vehicles exactly the way they use it and exactly the systems they use on the street. Our cornering techniques are designed to teach the individual the dynamics of what a building is all about. Every building has all kinds of corners. Every room is full of corners. There are left-hand corners and there are right-handed corners. So we teach that in a building you're going to run into corners no matter where you go. And that is one of the basic building blocks to the movement through a building. If you can't take the corners correctly, then all your tactics are going to go right out the window.
The individual that can control the corners and understand the physics, the geometry, and the dynamics, as well as the timing on the corners, is normally going to win the engagement.
You have to be able to take those corners. You have to be able to take them strong side. You have to take them weak side. If you don't, you're exposing half of your body to the threat. In other words, if I'm a right-handed person and I come to a corner and I have my weapon in my right-handed side and I've got to go around to the left, that means my body is going to come out first. Now what happens is if there's a person on the other end with a gun, he's going to see a shoulder, he's going to see a chest, he's going to see all these things before I get a gun out there to challenge him. So what I've done is I've basically given away a part of my body.
If you're going to handle firearms professionally, you need to know when to go left-handed and when to go right-handed and have no qualms at all about it. Let me give you an example. For me, I'm a right-hander. I'm attempting to come around this corner on this side. It's quite obvious which way I need to go. What typically happens is you realize the threat is on the other side, or is often an angle off to my left side, which happens to be my weak side, and a unconfident shooter or an unskilled shooter is going to do the obvious, and that is kind of stop his or her body here and try to lean out and attempt to shoot from there. We're losing the shooting platform, and more importantly, Joe, what are we doing? Okay, we're exposing large parts of our body.
By using the proper cornering techniques, I'm only giving him an eyeball and a gun as I come around that corner, just in percentages. And everything we do is based on percentages. All we're trying to do in these gunfights or these situations where a gunfight might occur is increase the odds of winning the gunfight. And one of those ways is to corner correctly, because every building is full of corners. So if we corner our strong side and our weak side, in our position, in our school, we don't have a strong side and a weak side. We just have a left-hand side and we have a right-hand side. Let the bad guy have a weak side. We can use that against him later on. So we want to be able to corner, and so every time we come around a corner, all the bad guy has to shoot at is your eyeball and a gun. He is immediately faced with a threat, and that is your gun. If I lead with my body part, I am not threatening the bad person or the bad guy at all. All he's seeing is a body. That for bad guys, they don't have rules. If they know there's a security team in their building, or there's a SWAT team or a special forces team in their building or in their complex, they get to shoot at anything they want. There's no rules for them. So if you want to give them part of your body first, they'll take it. So cornering techniques teaches those people the vulnerability they have in a room or in a building if they don't do it correctly. That's what brings us next to the barricades. The barricades are another tool that we can use, but it's also a tool we can misuse. And we've also found in a lot of our training, these things become what we call magnets, okay? And they just, for some reason, when the bullets start flying or the paintballs start flying, people just suck into those things, okay? Now the problem you have when you get sucked into those things, I can't employ any of my tactical tools. And it usually looks like this. They look like John Wayne going out here. As soon as them things start flying in the air, they turn into what Pee Wee Herman's. Okay, you see this number out here. They're boom, boom. The magnet gets them. Okay, and here they're locked in to the barricade. Can I observe anything from here? What can I do with my gun from here? Not a whole lot. What we'll see a lot of though is they want to observe, so they do. They observe. Okay. Now, what do I look like to him? Another melon. Okay. And we got another target sitting here. Okay. So what can I do to kind of make him under duress? What can I do to him? Shooting platform, okay? By putting this gun in his face, what does that do to him? Puts him under duress. How many people, when you point something at them, just take a rubber band, walk up to somebody, take a rubber band, go point that rubber band at them. Watch what they do. Okay? A rubber band will make you do all kinds of things. Well, imagine a real gun pointed at you. Causes you to do all kinds of weird things. I know, because I've done all kinds of new dances when people point guns at me, okay? So that's what we're trying to do to him. That's why we want to have that shooting platform, and that's why when we use cover or a barricade, we want to use it right, okay? What we found is we get away from this barricade. We get away from it. Why? Because I can't use this, okay? I can't use my major tool here. So I want to get away from this barricade. I got my shooting platform. The gun is down, so I'm in the observation mode right here. I'm looking at what's going on. If I see him, that's all I got to do. There he is, bang. Okay? As I change, I can change positions. No matter what I do here, I've got a lot of different options. Okay? I can change. My shooting platform stays the same. I'm using my barricade as cover. I'm allowing myself to see. I'm using it for protection. We also have members of the Highway Patrol that come through our course.
I was engaged in a close quarters battle, a gunfight, handgun to handgun. It resulted from a high-speed stop during the dark hours, and two occupants. I took one out, got him out at gunpoint, handcuffed and searched that individual, and the second person I got out, and a struggle ensued, and it turned into a gunfight. He actually dry fired twice on me because a round was not chambered, and I lost my footing, actually went down to the ground, and from the ground I discharged 8 rounds and hit the suspect 5 times.
They are very talented individuals who are very sincere about what they're doing.
The weapon that was used was a 3rd generation Smith & Wesson, and it was fully loaded on the magazine. One was not chambered, and the suspect actually had the gun on me on the ground. While I was on the ground, I anticipated taking gunfire at that point, but no gunfire came from that suspect's weapon. This was all within seconds. Within seconds, I had mine out and discharged 8 rounds, hit him 8 times, or 5 times.
And they're faced out there every day with the real-world situation.
The suspect's gun did not fire because one was not chambered. The magazine was loaded. The gun was fully operational, but one was not chambered.
They don't know when they walk up to a car on a routine stop, whether the guy's going to pop out and start shooting at them.
If I had to take the scenario and do it all over again, would be to actually engage the hostile, go right towards the threat. I was moving away from the threat when this incident occurred. Having the training I've had now from combative concepts, I'd have went right towards him. I'd have taken the fight away as quick as I could, instead of giving him that time and distance to react.
This is a fear that they have. This is a consideration they have to deal with constantly.
Okay, the scenario in a little more detail, I can't go into too much detail because I'm still under my department. However, it was a high-speed stop. This vehicle had 2 occupants. I was actually entering the freeway. The vehicle passed over 100 miles an hour. I had to accelerate, get on the radio, and notify a radio that I was actually engaged in trying to overtake a high-speed vehicle. I caught up to the vehicle, made the stop because of the hours of the night, and just a sixth sense that I had. I chose to get these people out at gunpoint, and one person complied. The driver was real compliant. I got him out. There was no problem. And the other person, I had him get out, but he wouldn't. He wasn't complying with a lot of commands. He was trying to divert my attention towards a language barrier, which there was no language barrier because I'm bilingual to an extent. And when I went to actually put a control hold on this one individual, the one individual that I shot, when I went to put a control hold on him and put him under arrest, that's when the struggle ensued. He turned. When he turned, I took that momentum and started walking backwards from him. Then as I was walking backwards, I lost my footing on the side of the road, which was a little raised berm. And on the raised berm is where I went down. As I went down, he had the 9mm in my face. He was actually, I don't know, 4 feet from me while I was on the ground, standing over me, clicking it twice. As he was clicking it twice, I was bringing mine out, anticipating gunfire. And then I took mine out and discharged the rounds and just focused in on front sights and took him out that way.
And the threat can attack anytime they want. They have to wait until the threat attacks.
I realized the situation was going to turn into a close quarters battle situation when the suspect actually resisted the arrest and was turning, digging into the waistband. At that point there, I had a real strong feeling what he was grabbing was the gun, not a knife. But feeling of disbelief was a factor in this situation as well. And I was reacting, and once he turned around, he had the gun. As I was pulling mine out, I went down. I realized at that point, when he turned and was digging into his waistband with his back turned to me, that this was going to turn into a close quarters battle.
So our whole design purpose is to get them prepared for these situations before they actually get in them.
What went through my mind when I was actually staring at the 9mm, which was pretty much in my direction, in my face, I anticipated taking the rounds. I'm a firm believer that if you're shot, you're not dead. And if you're dead, you don't know it. And I was just going to take the rounds and return fire. I had to slow my thinking down and concentrate under duress and just engage the hostile. That was going to be my goal to get out of the situation. I had a feeling that, hey, I'm going to win this situation. I don't care if I win by 1 second. I'm coming out of it. There's no way I'm dying here. Not on the side of the road.
They need that response. They need to know how it works. They need to see a guy come out of a car and shoot at them. They need to see what that looks like.
What I saw, the suspect, once I put him under duress, was he was retreating. He was starting to fumble with the weapon, trying to chamber the round. He lost concentration on me, lost concentration on the weapon, and at that point I had him under fire. And as he went under fire, 2 of the hits were non-survivable. One was through the heart, and one was through the head. Some of the others just broke bones and tore flesh. And this person here just could not function under the duress. I actually stayed calm, even though I was anticipating gunfire, and even though no gunfire came my direction, I anticipated it and actually put myself in that mindset of take rounds and return fire.
They need to see what it looks like when two guys bail out of a car. What are some of the signs? What I can do to counter these things?
A reason why I won this close quarters battle was because of mindset. Mindset had a very important role in surviving the incident. I was determined to make it out. I had a strong determination to get out of it. I was going to get shot, and I was going to live with that. That's fine, shoot me, but you better kill me within seconds, because it's 9mm is just not going to take me out, and if it does, I'm not going to know it. My mindset to survive at that point was very important.
Do I need to just duck and run? Is that the answer? No. What is the answer?
I'm not Superman. However, my mindset is to survive anything I encounter, and my mindset is to take care of anything I encounter.
And so we put them in that situation so they can find the answer for themselves, what works best for you.
Yes, the assailant, he's dead. Like I said, 2 non-survivable hits, and he was dead. Matter of fact, my last shot, when he went down, he dropped like a sheet off a clothesline. I knew he was dead at that point. I knew he was dead.
Okay, here we have a variety of weapons used by law enforcement and military entry teams. Start with one of the more common. There's a Heckler & Koch MP5. It's a 9mm fully automatic select fire weapon. It has a Surefire 6-volt light mounted on it and the fixed stock. Here's a Mossberg Model 500 with the stock removed for close-in entry work. This is a Benelli M1 Super 90 with Surefire tactical light. Also one of the better shotguns out there for entry work. This is the Colt SMG. It's a 9mm submachine gun. It's Colt's current competition to the H&K MP5, and it's seeing favor with a lot of law enforcement agencies. This is the new military M4 carbine. It's a modern version of the Car 15 from the Vietnam era. It has a 14.5-inch barrel. There's been a recess machined into the barrel, so an M203 grenade launcher can be mounted on the bottom of it, and it's roughly even with the end of the flash suppressor. There's a Glock Model 21. It's a semi-automatic handgun, very rugged, finding wide popularity with law enforcement. This is Benelli M3 Super 90. It's very similar to the M1, except for the fact that it also can be converted into a pump operation shotgun for use with breaching loads and other loads that may not cycle a semi-automatic action. Here we have a Ruger Mini 14 with a folding stock. It's similar to an AR-15. It's a 5.56mm semi-automatic rifle. Here we have a Remington Model 700 tactical rifle.
This rifle is a typical weapon used by the military and police small units. The rifle has a heavy barrel chambered in 7.62mm with inertial optics and a Harris bipod. Snipers are typically employed in a close-quarter battle situation in direct support of the assault element. Snipers are an interesting breed. Although they operate independently, they must have an acute awareness of the complete tactical situation as it unfolds. Snipers must have supreme confidence in their ability to make critical shots in high-stress conditions. This confidence only comes from constant training that molds the shooter with his environment and equipment.
Okay, let's slide, guys. Here we go. Here we go. Slide across. Cuffing! Cuffing!
We use videotape in our course to replay the events of a room entry or cornering technique or any one of our drills. What the video does is it allows the student to look at himself. See, you can be critiqued all day long, but sometimes you don't understand what I mean. The videotape helps you sit there and look at yourself on camera and you go, whoa, okay, that's what you mean. I went into that room and I ducked, I can't believe I did that. Or the guy came around the corner and I turned my back, no wonder he shot me. And so with the video replay, it's a great tool for the student because really he's the one that's correcting all these things. All we do is our channeling or trying to coach him in the direction that he really wants to go in the first place. He wants to be able to corner. He wants to be able to take down a threat if a threat materializes. And that is his total motivation. And nobody is more dedicated to that than the student because he does not like getting shot. He does not want to lose these confrontations. The paintball makes him realize that this is reality. I have to know how to do this. So he, with the videotape, gets to look at himself on videotape and go, wow, okay, that's a mistake I made. We also have used the videotape when we do our dynamic entries because as a lane grader or as a coach, I can't see everything that goes on. We come back at the videotape later on, we go, oh, wow, okay, now. And we can stop frame it. We go, okay, now look when you came in the room here. We can diagnose every little step of the way of what they did wrong, because this increases the learning process. As they're sitting there, that's where they're learning. The next time they do that room entry, they're starting to become more and more aware. Each time they do the room entry, they have a visual replay of what they did. Now let's look at this from the top. Notice how the point man will engage his first threat. As the rest of the team slides up, they slide in a good shooting platform as they move to the doors. They use a cornering technique as they move around those corners and up to those doors. Even though it's a doorway, it's still a corner. Constantly you see them working as pairs as they line up at the doors, preparing for the entry. They never let one guy by themselves. They're always working as pairs, working their way into a room as partners. That's one of the biggest keys.
Moving, moving, moving. Brooks, cuffing. Cuffing.
These drills will flow easily when you do it dry without any threats that are actually shooting back. But as soon as you start throwing actual threats in there, you'll start seeing a lot of these mistakes come out. That's where we get a good use of video replay that will show us the mistakes that we see as team members are breaking down and making their mistakes under the duress of actually engaging a threat.
What you're viewing here is a team in training. What you want to notice is their non-cohesiveness, their inability to keep the shooting platform as they're moving against threats, and just basically how they're responding to threats. They have difficulty moving together as partners. Their body language indicates a victim mentality versus what we call maintaining a hunter mentality. There's no fluidity in this team. What this team lacks is team leadership.
We have ex-Vietnam veterans, SEAL team veterans, who take our course.
I made three trips. I made 3 tours to Vietnam. 2 of the trips that I made to Vietnam were I was deployed, and 1 was a voluntary mission.
We're very fortunate that we have people who are ex-veterans of actual combat with combat experience. This is very, very useful to us because we really value their feedback. They've been there. The Vietnam veteran especially is basically the one who created the SEAL team mystique.
It's exciting, the excitement. You're trained to do a certain thing and when you're in the teams, and you want to prove to yourself and to your teammates and everyone that you are what you say you are.
All the things that SEAL team does is based off those Vietnam days.
The training was pretty intense then. I've heard that it's much more intense than the newer classes, but that's hearsay. I really don't know. I think during the entire Hell Week phase, I got about an hour and 45 minutes sleep for the entire amount. So the hardest part definitely has to be the lack of sleep. Your mind starts playing tricks on you when you haven't slept over a long period of time. People see caterpillars and various and sundry things that we would never even imagine when their mind starts to go. So pretty much the cat naps through the entire 7 weeks. We never were allowed to sleep, per se. We would go to the barracks, get in our racks, and be in our racks for approximately 5 to 10 minutes, and then the cherry bombs and M80s would go off in the trash cans and all that noise, and we'd find ourselves out on the cold Marston matting in the middle of the morning being hosed down naked almost every night, so no sleep.
When we have somebody who's an ex-vet that comes through our course, we just really value his input.
They've got some great men coming through the teams, and as usual, they're the best in the world.
Because they've been there, they can say, this is great training, this would have helped me in Vietnam, or this is going to help me in future engagements that I may be involved with.
In 1962, when I first joined, Vietnam was not an element at that time. But as soon as I heard about it, I was ready. We were all ready. We worked out of Olongapo, Philippines, and then a secondary base in Da Nang.